Welcome back into the studio. I thought I'd review or go back over a painting I did, or a pastel drawing I did a couple of years ago on a live stream. So the video quality is not exactly perfect, the angle's not great, but I still think it's got some valuable things I can talk about and teach you on this video. Okay, so flamingo, and it's really vibrant lighting as well. Okay, so the things you really need to keep in mind with this are paper color. Okay, if the color is too dark, I'm not going to get those vibrant colors to show up. So if I use, say, the mid-tone paper, dark gray paper, I'd struggle to get, see all that lovely reddish orange bounce like we've got in this reference photo. Okay, so that's what we need to keep in mind. Now those colors are vibrant because we've got the darks in the background as well. So I've selected this sienna colored paper because it's got, you know, kind of a warm, rich tone. Now to help me select my pencils, okay, you can see in my left hand I've got the color swatches that I make up, and over here to the right I've got the paper with magnets holding it onto a magnetic whiteboard. Okay, that's all I've got. Now I then need to get the image transferred over. Now rather than using black transfer paper, I've used white transfer paper, and you can only barely see the image on there. Okay, so that's the image transferred on there, and I like to get the reference photo the same size as the image that I'm drawing. Okay, so color swatches. So all I've done is use my pencils, and you can see how I can use it against the reference. So I've got small squares done off my pencils, and you can see I can say then that's the closest orange or red orange I've got and what pencil it actually is. Now that allows me then to go into my set of pencils, and I've got a few hundred pencils these days now, so it can take a lot of looking through it, and you can see I can do it with the pinks as well. So I've grouped my color swatches, you know, in pinks or reds, vibrant pinks and greens and purples, so that I can just put it over the subject like that, and then I know within, you know, 10-15 minutes all of the colors that I need for that reference photo, or everything I've got that's really close in my pencils, and I can then pull those out of my large sets. So let's just look at my purples, for instance. So this is just a small amount of the purples that I've got. Okay, so if I then looked at my drawing, I'd done some marks on there and matched them up to my drawings and said, okay, that dark there, that's very close to that purple, and I looked on my color swatches, I could pull out the pencil that I know would be the closest, and then once I've done that I can put all the other pencils away so it doesn't get confusing all the time looking for new pencils, different colors every minute or so. Okay, so these small color swatches are really useful. You see, you can do it this way because the color of the barrel of the pencil very rarely matches the color of the pencil when you put it down onto the paper, and sometimes the tip of the pencil doesn't even match perfectly the pastel that goes down on the paper, and of course the paper influences the color a bit too. So that's all you've got to do. You can just, you see, for instance, look at the tip color there, the color of the pastel, and then the back end of the pencil, so that's a pit pencil, and none of the pencil manufacturers match up the actual color of the pencil. So you really need to put it on a little swatch like this and check it right against your reference photo, and then you know what color you're going to get on the drawing, actually on the paper itself. Okay, now this area here, vibrant, extremely vibrant area, that's super important for this drawing. I need to get that just right, otherwise I'm not going to get that bounced light effect, that vibrancy effect. Okay, now I've got another video that goes into this in real deep detail. Okay, so I'd advise you to look at that, and I then talk about the shadows and the lights and the mid-tone colors and all things in that video as well. So I'll link that video either below this drawing, this video, or at the end of this video. Okay, but this is a really good way, so you're not guessing the colors. You don't want to be just guessing it and estimating it. And this I found is the best way to ensure that you know those colors are going to be just right, because sometimes it's only a slight variance from one area to another that makes a really big difference. So here's the main pencil colors that I've selected for this drawing. Okay, I'm not going to do the whole drawing, I'll just do part of it, but that you can see now that that stops me from having to keep going through all the sets of all the colors, hunting them down. Okay, so you can see I've got some Caran d'Ache in there. I don't have many of those, but they've got some really vibrant orange reds that you don't find in the other sets, and then I've got some of these more darker and neutral colors, black and white as well. Now obviously you can do this with your pan pastels, with your soft pastel sticks and anything else, just to pull them out of the masses of pastels that you may have in your set. Now I like to simplify everything, do it in stages, gives me the best chance of things going right. So as I said, I've got the transfer drawing very lightly actually on this paper, and all I'm doing now, once again extremely lightly, is just to indicate where the lights are and where most of the darks are as well. So I've got the shape of the flamingo, and then in my next stage I can be more concerned about getting the accuracy on the colors and the tonal value than just thinking about the drawing. Okay, so all I'm doing is indicating where the lights and the darks are going to be. Okay, so I don't need to do really any more than that. I put a bit of the background in because the background, other than the beak, tip of the beak, is the darkest thing on the drawing, and as this is only really a study, I'm not going to be concerned about the background, but I need that dark in there, remember, to make the pink colors zing and look super vibrant. Okay, so I'm just going to put a bit of that dark in, and then I can use, after I get some more in, I can use a paper stump then just to blend it in, and that will get rid of that kind of grainy appearance that we're seeing on the paper. Okay, so this dark is just really giving me something to judge the vibrant colors by. Here we go, when I use a stump I can just use kind of circular motions, and you see that blends it in nicely and will separate the flamingo from the background. And I'm just going slightly over the edge as well, just to soften that edge. So just as simple as that, and then I can concentrate more just on the flamingo for this small study. Now it's important early on, let's get the color right. Okay, so let's look at this type of color here. I've got a small section of my paper, a bit of an offcut of my paper, and then I can look in my set or the pencils that I've already pulled out just to double check what's going to be close, because obviously we're going to need to layer colors on top of each other to get this effect. It's not just blocks of color. So I'm trying out a few different colors. Some of them are a little bit darker, others are a little bit lighter, so that I know which ones are going to roughly be correct. And as I said, I can layer them as well to make small adjustments. Get a bit of paper so that I can rest my hand on it. But it's good to do those small swatches like that, so you know you're fairly close. If you're fairly close with your colors, then you can make adjustments. If you're miles off, and that can easily be done, believe me, very easily done. If you're miles off, then you can't easily make adjustments to correct that without, you know, wiping the pastel off and starting again basically. But if you're close enough, and that's all we really need, especially at the early stages, then you're judging one colour and one tone, so that's the light and the dark, against what you've already put down. And then that's setting you up for, you know, a good chance of being able to get a nice accurate drawing. You can see I can just blend the pastel in, push it into the lower tooth of the paper as I'm doing it, and I'm squinting usually when I'm looking at the reference photo, and all I'm doing is really putting in the main blocks of colour at the moment. Okay, now some areas are going to be a little bit lighter. Here is more of a pink colour. But the main thing will be to get the shadow in this cheek area down underneath, get the highlight where I'm working now across the top edge, because this drawing is really all about lighting, dramatic lighting. If you get it right then with your colours and bounced lights, really make for a very interesting drawing for the viewer to look at. If you're using just flat lighting, so say it's a cloudy day and everything it seems to be lit the same, there's no real highlight area like I'm working on now, and there's no dark shadow area, in most cases that can lead to it being quite a boring subject piece of art for the viewer to look at. And we want it to be dramatic most of the time, or at least I do. Okay, so back into blocking in the basic colours. Now I'm happy with the accuracy that I've got on that top section of the head. I need to make sure this shadow area is dark enough, because if this is not right, this shadow, especially as I said the tonal value, but in this case also the colour needs to be really accurate. If this is not right, it's not dark enough, then I'm not going to get that bounce light that we're seeing under the neck. Okay, and that's important. I need to get that to be able to really have vibrancy, because that's to me what attracted me to the reference when I took this photo. I loved that bounce light, the richness, and the purple that I'm putting on, this purple that I'm blending, doesn't look right yet. Okay, but I've just rubbed some on a swatch on a small piece of the paper. I put it right up to it, you saw that, and it was close. Okay, so I know that this is, you know, fairly close at the moment. But if I hadn't done that first, then my eye is telling me that this is wrong, or my brain is telling me it's wrong. Okay, and that's because the vibrant colour under the neck is not in yet. Okay, so I just keep blocking this in. Yes, it may need to go darker in places, other areas may need to go lighter in places, but that's generally the correct colour, generally the correct tone. Okay, so let's look at this super vibrant area. Let's match that up as well. Okay, now that's pretty close as well. Remember, these are the pencils I pulled out earlier on. So I know I've now only got a few to really select through, and if nothing is perfectly accurate, I know that there's nothing better in my pencil set. Okay, it doesn't need to be an absolute duplicate of the reference, but I do want it quite accurate. So the ones I've got out are the only ones I've got to play with, because anything else I know is way off the mark, way off the colour or tone. Okay, so these seem to be near enough the best, so let's try these out. Remember, this is the blocking in stage, the underlayer. All the details refinement will come on top, and I'd rather this be too vibrant than not vibrant enough, because I can quite easily deaden the color down. But if I put it in and it's not vibrant enough, I'm not easily going to be able to enrich it and make it more vibrant with layers on top. You see, I'm mixing kind of the two colors to get the one that I want in the end. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. It's blended in. It's got that vibrant look. I can see the shadow area needs to go a bit darker, but it's starting to come together. Yep, we've got to, when you do a drawing, you've got to begin somewhere. I matched up my colors using the swatches, so I know I'm not too far out. And so far so good. So that's the underlayer really of the head. Now I need to get accuracy, refinement, more details on top. So back to the little swatches, back to checking out my colors. Now as you become more proficient, more experienced, you'll go to your swatches less and less and really only use them for subjects that kind of trick the mind, okay, or if you want to just double check. But here you can see I'm starting to put highlights on top of my underlayer, but they're only subtly different than the underlayer so far. I'll put even brighter highlights on top of these as I build the layers up. Now on my Patreon channel, you know, I've got literally hundreds of hours worth of videos going into a lot more detail than this, and with better camera work as well, because this is just my live streaming camera when I did it, and you don't get the angle to the side either. This can be difficult videoing, drawing, having the microphone in front, doing it all at once, especially live streams. So here you can see I'm just lightening that section as well, and I'll continue to add detail, refinement, lighter tones on top of this underlayer. As I'm working in the more shadow area, you can see I'm allowing plenty of the shadow to show through. Could have gone quite a bit darker really in areas on my shadow, but didn't have that pencil that dark, and I would have needed to have really used pastel sticks. But as it was a live stream, I've just done the best I can with it. As I said, made it a bit more impressionistic. If I was doing it as a proper drawing, I would have got out the sticks, because they usually have, or they are, a punchier range and colour. Okay, so if your pencils don't have it, sticks will, whereas pan pastels may go dark enough, but they're not as opaque as pastel sticks. Okay, so sometimes only the pastel sticks will work, but it's not on that many subjects. Okay, as you build up your set of pastels, because I started with just pencils, you select the subjects that you know you've got the pencils for, and then as you find that you love using pastels, you gradually build up on your set. Okay, so to make the background a bit more interesting, you see I put this black around the top section of the beak, so you see that brings the beak away from the background. And I can also put some down here as well, and then because that bottom part of the beak is going to be black, I'm going to use a grey instead. So that's kind of using the dark against the light to make the beak stand out, and then the dark beak against a light background. Okay, so we're playing dark against light and light against dark to make things stand out and not disappear like we see in the reference photo. Now I can just blend that around. That colour is pretty much in the shadow area on the white part of the beak, so that's nice having some of that in the background as well. I think up here I'll have some blue, could represent a bit of the sky, and I'll blend the black into the blue just as a bit of something to add a bit of interest to the background. Okay, remember this is just a study, it's not a proper full drawing. I'm just showing you how to do vibrant subjects, and a little bit of background is going to help the orange of the flamingo to look a bit more realistic. Okay, so adding more details, more lights, more darks, more accuracy again. And you could detail something like this up as much as you want and spend as much time as you want on it. I'm just indicating a few feathers here. I'm not detailing it up very much, and having more of an impressionistic work rather than real hyper realism, and letting the lighting effects really create the beauty of the drawing rather than all the details. going to put a bit of the neck down here to help that beak sit correctly on the bird. I'm just going to go around here, put a bit of the neck in as well. I'm not going to do much more. As I said, it's just a study. The main thing was the head and the beak, but to get that black of the beak right, I need to get some of this background in as well so I can tie it all together. And you see a dark edge there makes that part of the neck stand out from the background as well. And I can soften it with my fingers, just blending it in the direction that the neck was in. And then we've got lovely vibrant feathers down here as well that come just a bit over the beak. You see, this is where a few of those Caran d'Ache colours that you don't see, don't have in other sets come in really handy. But you could also use pastel sticks. So they blend together by here a bit, keeping it all quite soft. And then this dark comes around the edge of the orange feathers. And then once I've got the shape of that, I can just fill that in and then add a bit more detail to it later. So the details of those feathers, nothing more than a little bit lighter going on top. We've got more rich colour on the neck as well. And you can see how it's really all about light in effect. Vibrancy of colour. And just bring out a few hairs over the black, and as my hand is going off screen, and just wiping the tip of the pencil on a microfiber cloth, because obviously it's picking up a bit of that black off the beak as it's going over, and I don't want to transfer that then back onto that rich colour area. And now I'm just refining all the areas that I've done just a little bit more, just create a bit more accuracy. Okay, that's about it for a study. I think I can just add a couple more touches here and then just put a bit more dark around the shape of the neck. I think I'll do right at the end just to bring it a bit more from that background. But as I said, it's just a study. The main areas I wanted to show you were the head, the beak, a little bit on the neck, and the way the feathers overlap on the beak by here. You see just a couple of highlights on that bright light in effect there. And then just a bit of black around the shape of the neck, because it is quite an interesting shape. And I hope you've enjoyed this. It's a very short reel video, as I said, taken from a live stream that was probably about 2 and a bit hours long. And if you enjoyed this and you want to see much more in-depth videos of wildlife and pets as well, dogs, cats, some horses, over on my Patreon channel I've literally got hundreds of hours of lessons, and they work out from just $1 or about 80 pence a week. No contract, you can start and finish as you want, and we've got loads and loads of members and a real thriving, lovely, friendly art community goes with it as well. And I'll leave more information about that right at the end of this video. So hope to see you there, and hope you've enjoyed this video. Just wanted to quickly mention my Patreon channel for those looking for even more in-depth art instruction. It's packed full of pastel videos, oil videos as well, and those videos are being added to new ones every single month. I have videos for the complete beginner that have never done pastels or oils before with just limited supplies, and I take you from the very first blocking in all the way through to the final detailed drawings and paintings. I've also got some really unusual subjects as well, and in all of my videos I always take you through all the details. You see everything I do, how I create my work. But it's not just for beginners, it's also for novices, and I also show the best artwork that I've ever done as well. And this particular elephant video spans 6 hours, so you know you're going to see tons and tons of details, tips and techniques. And as mentioned, I've got lots of oil videos on there too, so there really is something for everybody, and you get access to hundreds of hours worth of videos for just $4. Now over 1,000 members strong. Hope to see you there soon.